Hello and welcome here at the ISE booth of Tascam in Barcelona 2023. Today I want to show you or give you a short overview about our new SonicView series of consoles. The first thing you will realize, we are offering two consoles, the SonicView 16 and 24. The internal engine is the base same on both, but the 16, as the name already says, has 16 faders, 16 analog inputs, and 2 screens, while the 24 has 24 faders, 3 screens, and 24 analog inputs. Both have 16 analog outputs, and we have Dante as standard, so you have another 64 inputs coming via Dante. You can use it as a 32 in, 32 out USB interface, so another 32 channels. We have 2 slots which can be used either with one of our multi-track recording cards or with any of the cards of the DA6400. So you might have a 64 channel MADI card as well inside for another selection of 64 more inputs. So you have a big matrix internally to choose out of these nearly 200 inputs, the 40 which can be managed directly inside of the unit. Saying that, so the unit has 40 mixing channels plus a stereo channel plus 4 effect returns. And each of the input channels has a typical stuff like a gate, compressor, equalizer, and the sends. All those channels are sent into 22 buses plus a stereo bus, and each of the buses can be assigned either as auxiliary or as a subgroup bus. On top of that, we're using DCA groups, so if you don't want to merge the audio really, but just control the faders in parallel, you can simply create a DCA group. The internal processing power is 54-bit FPGA, so we are running on a latency of 0.05 milliseconds or below 0.05 milliseconds. And with 32-bit internal processing, so it directly shows our main target was sound quality, and that's not only on the digital domain. So the HDIA microphone input preamps we designed for that were done in a really listening test with a lot of listening tests in the studio to find exactly the perfect matching components to get the best sound out of those preamps. The same preamps are used in the Porta Capture X8, so our little multi-track recorder, and in the stage box SB16D, which will be available right at the same time with the mixing console. The View in SonicView stands for being easy to use, getting an easy access to all the parameters, and being able to adapt the console to your workflow. So that means, especially for the screens, we have the possibility to have either an overview like we have it here for all channels. We can assign a separate channel to the screen. So let's first, for example, let's have channel 9 over here and channel 1 over here. If I need to adjust 2 channels which are close to each other for doing special EQing, I simply swap this over to the other bank, because typically it's, if you push one of those select buttons, this will follow. If you push one of those, this screen will follow, but you can move them around anyway. And if you're working on details of one channel, you can simply click the little full screen button, and you have one channel. It should be working, yeah. You have one channel with several, with the different modules. And best overview you get, of course, if you click on the overview window, because that's showing you how a channel can be set up. So we have the input, we have a direct out on each channel, which can be sent out of the slots. We have phase inverse, we have a high pass filter, we have the section with a gate, equalizer and compressor, an insert point. So the insert point can be moved to different locations. The metering point can be moved to different locations, and the direct out can be moved to different locations, just up to your premises. And we have the send block. So let's just show you the routing to see what I mentioned with a big quantity of our inputs. To make it easy, we first have the slot on channel 1, we have the input once at the direct button, and all other inputs can be found in the others. So that means here we have the analog inputs, the stereo in player, we have the Dante connection, and we have our slot cards and the USB in with all the channels. So that's the full routing matrix on each channel of the console. So that's the three working kinds of those two screens. Additionally, you can assign all the user keys and all the layer keys to your personal premises. So for example, here I have now the, if it would have been still my setup, there would have been the multi-track recorder, but it seems someone changed it to something completely different. Okay, so that's happening on a trade show, sorry for that. But let's move in the user key setup. So I can assign all those, or someone assigned them to mute groups. I simply click here and say, okay, I want to have my meter screen on user key A. And if I now press user key A, I directly get my meters. And that's the same for every screen which is available. And the same as well for those user keys. So I can use those, for example, to have my sends on faders for mix 1, 2, 3, 4 to get direct access to my different mixes. I can use them for recalling effects, for recalling snapshots. I even can assign all those layers individually. So I could create 7 kinds of user layers with, I have my DCA group here, my mix here. The next is the main vocals, so maybe the drums, the instruments, the main vocals, all in a small footprint, and can even move the master fader over here. So if it's a small setup where I just need 5 sources to control, like drums, backing vocals, and main vocals, and the master fader, I just keep it on in the touch of one hand. So all can be brought very close together, so you can work as effective on that small footprint as possible. I think, those have been the key points of the console. Of course, there's much more to talk about, and you could dive into that, I think, nearly for 1 or 2 days without stopping, but I think for the first overview, it was fine. Thank you for your attention, and hope to see you somewhere maybe here in Barcelona.